in northern parts of Scotland. Further south, maybe a 20. We might squeak perhaps a 22 in the southeast. That's the weather for now.
Thank you. Now, the Liberal Democrats are about to reveal who will succeed Paddy Ashdown as party leader. This is the scene, as we can see it there, at the Constitution Club in central London, where the announcement is going to be made any minute now. You can see everybody gathered round, obviously waiting expectantly for that announcement. While we're waiting, let me bring in our chief political correspondent, John Sopel. We think it's going to be, who do we think? Either Charles Kennedy or Simon Hughes?
Oh, I think we're expecting
Charles
it to
Kennedy.
be Charles Kennedy. I don't think there are too many surprises. It'll be interesting to see what percentage of the vote he took on the first round of the contest, and then to see how many times they had to count before he reached 50%, because that's the kind of key margin for a Liberal Democrat contest. So I think that it will be Charlie Kennedy first, Simon Hughes, the Bermondsey and Southwark MP, second.
Let me just go to Tim Franks now, who's actually at the Constitution Club. Tim, an air of expectancy.
An air of expectancy, Liberal Democrats standing around being very polite to each other, as Liberal Democrats are wont, and I think the result that we're hearing about is vindicating what John just said there. It looks as if on the third round, after transfer of votes, it's Charlie Kennedy has got it, Simon Hughes has come second. We think that Malcolm Bruce has come third, Jackie Ballard fourth, and David Rendell fifth. So pretty much the result that was predicted almost from the start.
And what does this mean for Simon Hughes' future?
Well, I think Simon Hughes has a fairly bright future in the Liberal Democrat Party. I think there is a feeling that he will get a senior brief when the Liberal Democrat shadow cabinet is reshuffled. That probably won't happen until September, October, probably until after the annual conference of Liberal Democrats. But there is talk about Simon Hughes maybe getting the Home Affairs portfolio, which he's long craved. But I think there's a feeling that he fought a good campaign, got a lot of second preferences, and that Charles Kennedy will use his powers in a new cabinet.
Well, Charles Kennedy, if it is he's been talking about a radical overhaul, hasn't he, of the Lib Dems? What exactly does he want to do?
Well, one of the things he wants to do, I think, is to actually thin out his front bench, thin out his spokespeople, because there are an awful lot in the Liberal Democrats. They seem to have a portfolio for each of the 46 members of Parliament, and that's simply too many. They want to get a senior team in place who will have a wide range of briefs to talk about, but also get a lot of campaigning done as well by the backbenchers. So have a team that's centred at Westminster, and then a team that's out in the regions doing what the Liberal Democrats do best, which is campaign at a local level.
I must just say we're actually at the Constitution Club, I think, rather than the Commonwealth Club, as it said there. But Tim, what else is Charles Kennedy going to do? Because is he going to forge more links with Labour, which is something that Paddy Ashdown was criticised for?
Well, he's been a bit not lacklustre. That's not the right word. But he's been a bit reticent on the links between the Liberal Democrat Party and Labour during this campaign. And I think part of the reason, actually, I'll leave you now with the candidates who are coming in. And Diana Maddock is going to be, Baroness Maddock is going to be the person who will be actually introducing the winner and announcing the results. So I'll leave you with those people.
This afternoon, we have reached the end of a process which has seen democracy working as it should work. Since the nominations opened for the leadership on the 11th of June, the 5 candidates have toured the country and they've appeared at crowded meetings in every region and every nation of Britain. There have been 21 separate hustings, attended by several thousand party members altogether. Now, the campaign has put the candidates through a very thorough test of their qualities. They've had a taste of the energy needed to lead the Liberal Democrats. They've been subjected to questions about almost everything under the sun. And I am delighted to report that they have conducted the election in a thoroughly constructive and friendly spirit. They have stuck to the issues, not personalities. The experience of travelling so many miles together seems to have drawn them very much closer together, rather than to have created divisions between them. And I'm in absolutely no doubt that this afternoon they will be able to work together after this as a very cohesive team. Well, now that the votes are in, we can demonstrate the advantage of being the only mainstream party in Britain with a fully democratic system for electing its leader, based on the principle of fair votes. Every member has a vote, and every vote counts. At this point, I would like to pause, really, to congratulate the returning officer, Clive Lindley, on organising such a successful election. These, then, are the results of the election for the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party. 82,827 ballot papers were mailed out, of which 51,006 were returned, representing a turnout of 61.6%. Under the alternative vote system, party members were asked to vote for as many of the 5 candidates as they chose in order of preference. On the first preferences, Jackie Ballard had 3,978 votes. Malcolm Bruce had 4,643 votes. Simon Hughes had 16,233 votes. And Charles Kennedy had 22,724 votes, and David Rendell had 3,428 votes. Now, as no candidate had over 50% of the vote, the count now proceeded to the second stage. The candidate with the fewest votes, David Rendell, was then duly eliminated. The next preferences of those who voted for him were then redistributed amongst the other candidates. Now, as a result, Jackie Ballard received 627 transfers, Malcolm Bruce received 598 transfers, Simon Hughes received 1,145 transfers, and Charles Kennedy received 895 transfers. Now, these transferred votes were added to the previous totals to give the following results at the second stage. Jackie Ballard now had a total of 4,605 votes. Malcolm Bruce now had a total of 5,241 votes. Simon Hughes now had a total of 17,378 votes, and Charles Kennedy now had a total of 23,619 votes. The candidate with the fewest votes was now Jackie Ballard, and she was duly eliminated. With her next valid preferences redistributed amongst the other candidates. So, Malcolm Bruce now received a further 827 votes. Simon Hughes now received a further 1,982 votes. Charles Kennedy now received a further 1,545 votes. And these transferred votes were now added to the previous totals to give the following result at the third stage. Malcolm Bruce now had a total of 6,068 votes. Simon Hughes now had a total of 19,360 votes, and Charles Kennedy now had a total of 25,164 votes. So the candidate with the fewest votes was now Malcolm Bruce, and he was duly eliminated. With the next valid preferences redistributed amongst the other candidates. Simon Hughes now received a further 2,473 votes. Charles Kennedy now received a further 3,261 votes. These transferred votes were added to the previous totals to give the following result at the fourth stage. Simon Hughes now had a total of 21,833 votes. Charles Kennedy now had a total of 28,425 votes. And since he now has 50% of the vote, over 50% of the vote, Charles Kennedy is duly elected the leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Charles Kennedy, as we see there, has been elected leader of the Lib Dems to replace, of course, Paddy Ashdown and to take the party into the millennium. We expect to hear him speak any minute now, so we'll stay there with Charles Kennedy. Let me bring in our chief political correspondent, John Sopel. Pretty complicated there, John.
Yes, I'm sure for people who aren't used to that particular voting system, it must have been bewildering. And the way, the sort of jaunty, jokey way it was presented, I don't know whether it adds to the gravitas of the occasion or not, but there you can see the Liberal Democrat MPs there applauding Charles Kennedy and the baton, if you like, being handed over to him by the former leader Paddy Ashdown, who did so much to rebuild Liberal Democrat fortunes after the merger and the break-up demise of the SDP and those Liberals who went their own way. And Charlie Kennedy now makes his way to the rostrum. He's kissed by Lady Maddock, Diana Maddock, and he's now going to speak at the Royal Commonwealth Club.
Well, from here on, it's downhill all the way. I'm very glad to be standing before you as somebody who's not been eliminated by Diana in the last 2 minutes. And could I begin, colleagues and friends, on behalf of all the 5 of us who have had the privilege to be candidates in this excellent, involving, and utterly, as you could see, utterly democratic election campaign, thank the party for the conduct of the election. I think it's been handled magnificently, and I can't believe that if any other political party in British politics was to open themselves up to over 20 public hustings up and down the length and breadth of the country and to emerge more united rather than less united, I think that is an incredible achievement for the Liberal Democrats. There are also too many individual members of my own campaign team to thank individually here. So can I thank them all by thanking, first of all, my campaign manager, Matthew Taylor MP, and secondly, my agent, James Girling. They have been a magnificent team, and I think that they have served us all very well indeed. In addition to that, there's 2 other people at this stage. I want to pay a particular tribute to Simon Hughes, who fought a magnificent, positive, inspirational campaign. We all know what a magnificent asset Simon is to our party, and I look forward in the coming time now to working with him in taking our message to the country and to our wider electorate. There's one other person that we all have to thank today. That is Paddy Ashdown. That we stand here today with a party in such a strong position is really down to his visionary and energetic leadership over these past 11 years. And the challenge now is to carry on with Paddy's work, building the party. What about our party? I believe the Liberal Democrats offer a different approach to the other British political parties. And I believe that that difference is needed now even more than ever. Why? Because, quite frankly, so many people are becoming just tired of politics. They don't see how politics can change things for the better. They're losing faith in the politicians. And the alarm bell should be ringing in all the political parties as that process continues. That's why, in the course of the leadership campaign, I chose to highlight the fundamental need for politics to start reconnecting with the British public. We don't want to turn millions of people away from politics. We want to engage them in the business and the process of politics. And as a party, we need to get out into the country and to explain our values and our vision. That means the first change I plan is this. I want to take the parliamentary team beyond Westminster itself. I want us to be seen, visible, active, in touch in every corner of Britain. That way we can strengthen the party, we can increase our party membership, and we can put it in place as a strong national campaigning force fit for the politics of the 21st century. Now, to do all this, we have to communicate our distinctive message. I said at the start of the campaign, on day one, that we're a progressive party of conscience and of reform. I said that I want the Liberal Democrats to fight for social justice. And how much is that needed in British politics at the moment? Social justice and for the environment. I said that we must take the pro-European message out there to the people. And I want our party to become a serious party of government, nothing less. I think that the result is a clear mandate for that vision and that approach. Now, we have a duty as Liberal Democrats to fight for a fairer Britain. And I pledge to you today that I'm going to stand up above all else for social justice. We have to give voice to the disadvantaged and dispossessed, because those voices are not being heard by New Labour, that's for sure. We need also to reconnect with all the people out there who just don't feel that politics is offering solutions to them. And we have to fight to improve our public services, our schools and our hospitals. Everybody in Britain depends upon them. And that means, and this is a big task for this party and for my leadership of your party, that means we have to engage in a mature, intelligent, adult debate with people about how do you fund proper public services into the future. That debate is not taking place yet in British politics. We've got to start it on a mature, adult fashion. We also have a duty to fight for a clean, safe environment and a better quality of life. The environment's going to be a personal political priority for me. I think that we've got excellent environmental policies, but we must be winning the arguments where the government is failing to deliver. And that's true of day-to-day concerns which everybody has over transport, over planning, over GM foods. We've also got a duty to help modernise the way that Britain's run, so that government can reconnect with the people as well. Labour has begun a constitutional revolution, but I don't think it fully understands that revolution. I pledge that I will use all our influence with this government to win the case for continuing the great changes that are already underway. And finally, we have a duty to reconnect with the people on Europe, to take the pro-European case to the country as a whole, and as part of a pro-European popular front of people from all political parties, making the case, and this is central, that it's patriotic to be pro-European. It's good because it's good for British business and British jobs. The alternative is for this country of ours to be sidelined forever. Now, to achieve these things, we must be prepared to work with others. On that question, let me repeat what I've said clearly throughout the campaign. I've campaigned, as have my colleagues, for a strong, confident, independent political party, strong enough to make a difference, confident enough to cooperate with the government when we agree, independent enough to fight and win where we disagree. I'll continue working with Labour on constitutional issues, on European foreign policy. Indeed, I want to see our constitutional cooperation developing. Make no mistake about that. We need to persuade the government of the case for fair votes in local government in England and Wales, and, of course, for Westminster. They need to be pushed on the issue of British entry to the euro. They must be more bold in making the House of Lords properly democratic. And they must deliver on meaningful freedom of information legislation. I said on day one, I said on day one, and repeated throughout, that I don't rule out further cooperation. If it's in the interests of Britain, if it's based on our policies and our values, and if it has the consent of our party. But let me emphasise something else just as strongly. Our campaigning on the government's failure on health, education and much else besides isn't going about to let up. Over the next couple of years, we'll continue to play our part in helping to modernise British politics, but we'll also ensure that at the next election there's a strong, independent, progressive alternative to the Labour Party. And in particular, if that means standing up for individual liberties in the face of over-interference from a we-know-best government, that is what we will articulate in Commons Chamber and elsewhere. Now, at the same time, I don't wish to spoil the atmosphere of the afternoon, but let's not lose sight of the Conservative Party. Why not indeed? They're outdated, they're reactionary, they're divided down the middle on Europe, and they're dominated by narrow-minded Eurosceptics. They offer little that's positive for the future of this country, and I don't intend to intrude on their private grief beyond that. But what I do want to leave you with this thought this afternoon is this, that despite that deplorable state of the so-called official opposition, potentially this is such an exciting moment for British politics and for what the Liberal Democrats can do in British politics. For the party, it's a window of opportunity to make our vision count. We've now got more power and more influence than any third party since the 1920s. We're sharing in government already in Scotland and in local councils across Britain. My ambition is to build on that success and to take this party into government at Westminster. I look forward to doing so in partnership with each and every Liberal Democrat. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, that, for the future, is what my leadership of your party is going to be all about. Thank you.